All right, this is take two of a video that I was trying to make before because I had some calculator problems. We are doing some notes today. I want to remind you that your big ideas 4.4 and 4.5 are going to be due on Friday, along with your review 4.4 and 4.5 worksheet. Each one will help you out if you do the work. Remember, we also have our quiz on Friday as well, this Friday. And this Friday is also the end of the first semester. Let's go over into our notes. Your notes should have already been given to you by the sub, and if you did not get it, please ask the sub for the notes. I want to go over these synonyms here. If I know you know what solve for x means, get everything on one side of the equation and solve, set it equals 0, solve for x. All of the rest of these mean the exact same thing. If you're asked to find the x-intercepts or find the zeros or find the roots, that all means the same thing to solve for x. One other one that I know comes up is find the solutions. So find the solutions. Wow, this is horrible writing. And again, if you see find the solutions, it's the same thing. Let me just use this new pen that Reed and Austin were so kind to get me. Oh, wow, that's way better, Mr. Lakin. You should probably just use that from now on. I will. Thank you for telling me. Let's just get rid of that because that looks horrible. Okay. So now let's try some problems. Let's just draw an arrow here. Same thing. All right, so let's do find all real solutions of this one. We already have the set equals 0, and it looks like 4 terms, so let's try grouping. Let's take something out of these two. It looks like an x squared will come out. And if we divide each term by x squared, we get x minus 8. And for the next two, it looks like 11x and 20. We would have to take out a 1, and we get 11x plus 20. And it's equal to 0. Small problem here. And if you're not sure what the problem is, I'm going to tell you right now, it's these two. Should be the same. Should be same, but they're not. So what that means is our grouping fails. We cannot solve this by grouping. Oh, Mr. Lakin, what are we going to do? Great question. So now we're going to go to our calculators. And again, please pause the video if you need to. Take out your calculator and let's go to y equals. And we're going to enter this equation in y1. So I'm assuming you're pausing the video maybe, trying to get your calculator out. I'm just going to go ahead and do a clear and clear all that stuff out. And let's go ahead and enter this in. X cubed minus 8x squared. Now, I'm redoing this because the next problem that I did, I was not able to figure out how to enter that in the calculator. It was pretty bad. The x cubed, okay, looks good. All right, I'm going to push enter. I'm going to do a zoom and standard. That just resets the window from anything that I might have had before. And I'm going to let the calculator process it a little bit. And what I'm looking for here, so I don't know if I said this, because my factoring failed, I don't think I said this, because my factoring failed by grouping, I cannot solve by grouping and I have to use calculator. And the calculator is going to make it a lot easier for me, as you're going to see. And here's how you're going to do it. This is what the graph looks like. Remember, real solutions means any x-intercepts that you can see. And it looks like I can see that value, -1. It looks like I can see this value of 4 and that value of 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my table. So do second graph. And what I'm looking for in the table is any x and y's where the y value is 0. Anywhere where there's a y value of 0 and that gives me an x value, that's a solution. That is an x-intercept. So let's do second graph and see what I have. Oh my gosh! Okay, I see 3 of them. I see x equals -1. This is perfect. This makes my life so much easier. X equals -1. I see x equals 4. And I see x equals 5. Done. That's it. I'm all done. How do I know? I need 3 solutions, and I got them. Can't make it easier than that, guys. But you need your calculator. If you don't have your calculator, this problem is a pain in the butt. Next. Example 2. Okay, now I have these tips down here that I will go over with you in a little bit. Let's just, this problem is horrible. There's 5 terms. We're not going to factor that. Who wants to factor that? Not me. So let's go ahead and get this in y equals. So please pause the video. Go and get that in y equals. Okay, and I have my equation here, and I'm just going to go right to the table to see if I can find anything with 0 in the y's. Oh man. Nope, no 0 in the y1 column. Okay, so now I have to do a different method. And the different method I'm going to do to find the x-intercepts is I'm going to do a second trace and select 0. So let's do second and trace. I'm going to go to this option here, 0, because remember 0 is a synonym for root. So let's do number 2. And it's going to ask me for a left bound. So instead of moving the cursor around, I'm just going to select 2 numbers around an x-intercept that I see. I'm going to start with this left x-intercept here. I'm going to enter -2 for the left of the root. So a number that's on the left of the root is -2. And then I'm going to go to select a number on the right. Notice I'm not selecting a number that's like, I'm not trying to guess what this number is. I'm going to let the calculator do that for me. So I'm just picking 2 clear x values that I can see on the left and on the right of the x-intercept. The second one is -1. And I'll push enter. So I did steps 3 and 4 here, and I pushed enter for both of those. And then when the screen says guess, just push enter. And the calculator will find it for me, and it looks like it's about -1.56. That's not really as clean as I wanted. All right, well, we'll see what to do with this in a minute. I want a nice clean decimal here. I don't want something with a lot of digits. So now let's go here. Let's go to this x-intercept. So repeat the process. Go to second trace and 0, which is option 2. Okay, this time I'm going to pick -1 and 0. I'm going to see what roots are around -1 and 0. So on the left side, -1, enter, and 0. Guess is enter. Oh, way better. Way better. Let's write that down. So x is equal to -1/2. -0.5. Okay, so how do we get the rest of the polynomial here? Well, that's a great question. I'm going to do synthetic division. So first, this is just to find x-intercepts in the calculator. I'll write these steps out on the next slide. Let's go ahead and get all our numbers. So we have 10, -11, -42, 7, and 12. We don't have any placeholders. Bring down to 10. And please pause the video if you think you remember how to do this, because I want to really make sure we're testing those abilities here. If you don't remember, we'll keep going. We always multiply 10 times -1/2, or 1/2 of 10, which is -5. And then we're going to do just combine, which is -16. 1/2 of 16 when the negatives cancel, which is going to be an 8. That's going to be 34, I think. 1/2 of 34 with the negative is going to be -17. And then that's going to be -10. I think I made a mistake here. Just make sure that I have this right. Aha, this should be a -34, so let me just correct that on the video. So this should be a -4, which turns this to be a +17, and I get a 24 when I add those up. Here I get -12, and I have a 0, and I wanted a 0. I want a 0 because literally when x equals 1/2, I get y equals 0. So now let's rewrite our polynomial. Now we have all the powers drop by 1. So I have 10x cubed minus 16x squared minus 34x plus 24 equals 0. And I still have to keep going. I only found one root. But the calculator did do a little bit of an easier job for me, though. So let me move this down here, and let's keep going here. So now let me see if I can find another root. Let's see what this root is over here. Maybe this root will come up with something nice. So let's do, how do I do this? I do second trace. I'm going to select option number 2. And I'm picking a number, an x value, that's on the left of this root and on the right of this root. So let's do the left of this root is 0, some x value you can clearly see. On the right of the root, looks like it's 1. On the guess screen, push enter. 0.6. Perfect. Let's do it. The reason I'm doing this again is because I know I have 3 more roots to find because this is a fourth power polynomial. So I have 3 more roots to find, and I can use the calculator to keep doing that. So let's go and keep going here and do x is equal to 0.6, 0.6, and plug in 0.6 into the synthetic division. Notice I also didn't even try grouping, because if I have the calculator, I mean, I don't really need to do grouping. Ooh. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Dink. Now this is kind of a long problem, FYI. This is like a really tough problem. So no worries if you fell a little bit behind here. So 10 times 0.6 is going to be 6. Negative 16 and 6 will be negative 10. Negative 10 times 0.6 is negative 6. That's going to be negative 40. And negative 40 times 0.6, you could use a calculator for that. That's going to be negative 24. And that's going to be 0. So now let's rewrite our polynomial again. Please keep in mind we had an x squared before, an x cubed. Then we had an x squared and an x and then nothing. Now we're down to 10x squared minus 10x minus 40. And we have to set that equals 0 to solve. So let's factor out a 10. We're going to get 10 out minus x minus 4. Now you could try old school. I don't think you're going to get anything with it though, because I don't think something times something equals negative 4 with something plus something equals negative 1. Again, I could be wrong. You could try old school, but I don't think it's going to work. So how do we solve this? Quadratic formula. No, Mr. William, quadratic formula. Oh my gosh. I know. I'm dying on the inside too because it's a long problem. So now let's do quadratic formula on just this part. The 10 is staying out there with a equal 1, b equal to negative 1, and c equal to negative 4. I would recommend you pause the video now to try to do this on your own before you see the answer. Did you pause it? You should pause it. Okay, so here's what x is equal to. X is equal to 1 opposite b. So I'll just write over here, opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is going to be 1, minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times 1. Let's see what this gets. That's going to be root 17 over 2. I got 17 because the negative and the negative make a positive. 4 times 4 is 16, and I added 1, which is 17. So I got 1 plus minus root 17 over 2, which are my final answers. So I have 4 answers here for this because I expected that. One was negative a half. And let me just circle these. One was negative 0.5. One was 0.6. One was 1 plus root 17 over 2, and the other was 1 minus root 17 over 2. And please note, if you don't have a calculator on this, it's going to suck. The problem is almost impossible. So please make sure that you have a calculator on you. I want to make sure that we jot down the steps. So I'm going to go and do that now, and then I'll make one more video for you guys for the remaining problems. The steps that you should do when you're trying to find the roots of a polynomial. When you use a calculator, you can either use a calculator to find the roots. You can either use the table feature, and the table feature was second graph, or you can use the zero feature. The way you use the zero feature again was on the previous, was earlier in the video, so just go there in the video if you need it, but that's going to be second. If you cannot find all the roots, but you found one root. Use use synthetic reduce the polynomial. If you get a quadratic, use either factor where possible. Okay. That's for finding roots of the polynomial. And I would just add a tip here. You have all the roots. You're going to know is the highest exponent in the polynomial. Oh, not male, polynomial. That's weird. Polynomial. Again, just a reminder here before I end this video, roots, solutions, x-intercept, zeros, those are all the same thing. Thanks for watching. We'll do one more video.